Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you give, no matter how much you explain, it still feels like people don't understand you, or worse, they don't value you? That heavy feeling inside, the one that says you're pouring your energy into the wrong places, is not just frustration. It's a sign that your focus has been scattered, that too much of your power has been spent on trying to convince others instead of building yourself. Deep down, you know the truth. Silence and self-focus are not weakness. They are strength. They are the keys to creating the life you've been searching for. Think about how much time you've wasted trying to be seen, trying to prove your worth, trying to get approval. How many nights have you stayed awake replaying conversations in your head, wishing you had said more, wishing you had explained yourself better, and yet all that noise never gave you peace. All that effort never made anyone love you more, respect you more, or believe in you more. What if the very thing you've been chasing could only come when you stop chasing it? What if your real power shows up when you step back, when you stop explaining, when you redirect all that energy inward? Silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. It is the space where your energy gathers, where your mind sharpens, where your spirit recharges. When you stay quiet, you give yourself a gift that noise can never give: clarity. You see who is truly for you and who only thrives when you are distracted. You begin to recognize what deserves your attention and what is nothing more than a thief of your focus. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you are training your mind to rise above the chaos. You are telling yourself, I don't need to prove anything. My growth speaks louder than my words. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's survival. The world will always demand pieces of you. People will always want your attention, your energy, your agreement. But the truth is, you cannot pour into anyone else if you are empty inside. You cannot shine in your purpose if your light is dimmed by constant distractions. Focusing on yourself means choosing discipline over drama, peace over noise, and vision over approval. It means understanding that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. And here's the reward. When you stay silent and work on yourself, life begins to shift. People notice, not because you told them, but because your actions, your results, your quiet strength cannot be ignored. The same voices that doubted you will fall silent. The same eyes that overlooked you will start to pay attention. But the difference is you won't need their validation anymore. You will have built something greater: self-respect, that unshakable belief that you are enough, that your time matters, that your path is yours to walk, regardless of who claps or who criticizes. So stay here, stay with this message until the end. Because if you have ever felt drained, unheard, or unvalued, what comes next will give you the tools to reclaim your energy, protect your peace, and build a life that feels powerful, purposeful, and free. This is not just about staying silent. It's about unlocking the version of you that no one can stop. The greatest battles you fight are not with the world outside, but with the noise inside your own mind. That voice that tells you to explain yourself, that urge to argue, that need to prove someone wrong, those are traps designed to drain your focus. Every time you take the bait, you trade your energy for emptiness. But when you stay silent, when you choose to hold your peace, you shift the balance, you reclaim control, you stop feeding the distractions and start feeding your growth. Silence becomes your weapon, not against others, but against your own self-sabotage. Think of how powerful it feels when you walk away from conflict with your head high. Think of the strength it takes not to reply, not to react, not to give your energy to things that don't build you. That discipline is rare. Most people scatter their focus, bleeding their energy into every argument, every criticism, every little storm around them. But not you. You are learning to conserve your power. You are teaching yourself that silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is the art of choosing your battles, of knowing that not every fight is worth your presence. Not every voice deserves your response. Not every distraction earns your attention. Psychologists say that what you focus on expands. If you focus on negativity, it multiplies. If you focus on conflict, it grows stronger. But if you focus on yourself, if you choose growth, healing, discipline, your life expands in that direction. This is why silence is so powerful. By refusing to engage in the noise, you shrink it. By focusing inward, you amplify your strength. The less you give to the outside chaos, the more you give to the inner calm that fuels your success. You stop living on defense and start living on purpose. When you focus on yourself, you step into alignment with your real goals. You start noticing what truly matters, your health, your mindset, your habits, your vision. Every ounce of energy you used to spend on people who doubted you, on arguments that led nowhere, on explaining your worth, is now invested into building the version of you that cannot be ignored. You begin to grow in silence, and that growth speaks volumes. Without saying a word, you become a force. People see your discipline. They feel your energy shift. They notice your absence in the drama they used to pull you into. And when they look for you, they realize you are no longer available for anything that wastes your time. The reward is not only peace, it's power, real power. The kind that doesn't shout, doesn't argue, doesn't need to prove itself. It simply exists. Quiet, focused, unstoppable. That is the power you build when you choose yourself over distractions, when you choose silence over noise. You become untouchable because no one can manipulate what you refuse to give away. They cannot drain your energy if you no longer offer it. They cannot destroy your peace if you protect it with silence. And here is the truth. People respect silence more than words. They may not admit it, but when you refuse to engage in nonsense, when you hold your ground without speaking, it unsettles them. It makes them wonder what you're building, what you're becoming, what gives you that strength. That mystery, that quiet confidence carries more weight than any explanation ever could. And it leaves you free to focus, free to grow, free to become the person you were always meant to be. There is a moment when you realize that silence is not empty. It is full of strength, full of answers, full of the kind of energy that cannot be found in noise. In that silence, you see yourself clearly. You recognize your own patterns, your own distractions, your own hidden potential. Most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. But you, if you choose it, will discover that silence is the very place where transformation begins. It is where self-awareness sharpens into discipline, and discipline evolves into power. The world constantly demands that you react. It feeds on your attention, pulling you into cycles of comparison, judgment, and competition. Every scroll, every comment, every criticism is designed to provoke you, to make you forget who you are. But silence is your rebellion. By choosing not to react, you protect your identity from being shaped by noise. You create distance between their chaos and your clarity. You build a wall that no opinion, no distraction, no negativity can climb. That distance is not loneliness, it is freedom. Freedom to decide what truly matters. Freedom to take back your focus. Freedom to finally pour into yourself without interruption. Focus is the foundation of greatness. Every achievement you admire, every person who inspires you, built their success on the discipline of focus. They learned to guard their attention like it was treasure because it is. Your attention is the currency of your life. Where you spend it determines what you become. If you spend it on arguments, on drama, on convincing others of your worth, you will always feel poor. But if you spend it on growth, on building your skills, on strengthening your body, on sharpening your mind, you will feel rich. Rich in confidence, rich in clarity, rich in purpose. When you stay silent, you create the space to focus deeply. That deep focus becomes momentum. Small, consistent actions taken in silence create massive change. You begin to notice your habits shifting. You start waking up with energy, training your mind to resist distractions, setting standards that demand respect. And as your standards rise, your results rise with them. You no longer need to talk about what you are doing because your life begins to show it. The results of your focus speak louder than any explanation ever could. There is a psychological truth that cannot be ignored. People trust actions more than words. When you are silent but disciplined, silent but consistent, silent but relentless in your growth, people sense it. They feel it. Your presence changes. You carry an energy that words cannot create. That energy draws opportunities to you, builds respect around you, and sets you apart in a world addicted to noise. You no longer chase attention, it chases you. But the difference is, you don't need it. You are grounded, whole, and steady within yourself. This is the hidden power of focusing on yourself and staying silent. It is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about rising above it. It is about becoming so strong within, so centered in your purpose, that nothing outside of you can shake you. And when you reach that level of strength, life bends in your favor. Doors open. People listen. Respect follows. Not because you asked for it, but because you became the kind of person who commands it without saying a word. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you discover how much energy you truly have. All the words you used to waste on convincing, defending, or proving become fuel for something greater. You begin to pour that energy into building yourself instead of justifying yourself. And that shift is life-changing. It moves you from a place of scarcity where you feel drained and overlooked to a place of abundance where your silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. The more you build in quiet, the less you need validation because your progress becomes undeniable. Every time you choose silence, you are telling yourself that your growth matters more than their opinions. You are reminding yourself that not everything requires a reaction. You are creating a powerful boundary between who you are becoming and who they still expect you to be. That boundary is sacred. It protects your peace, your focus, your potential. And over time, it transforms you into someone unrecognizable. Not because you changed for others, but because you finally chose yourself. There is a deep psychological principle at play here. Human beings crave control, and when someone cannot pull a reaction out of you, they lose control. Your silence unsettles them. It makes them question their own power over you. And while they are busy wondering, you are busy working. While they are distracted by your silence, you are building in the dark. That is how greatness is built. Not by shouting, not by proving, but by moving quietly, consistently, relentlessly toward your vision. Focus is the oxygen of achievement. Without it, your goals suffocate. And every distraction, every argument, every explanation is like a hand on your throat, cutting off your air. But silence keeps you breathing. It creates the space you need to think clearly, to plan wisely, to act with precision. When you stop wasting words, you gain time. When you stop chasing approval, you gain freedom. And when you stop defending yourself, you gain power, the kind of power that only comes when you are fully aligned with your purpose. Imagine the version of you who no longer explains, no longer chases, no longer reacts. Imagine the strength you would feel walking through life with quiet confidence, knowing your energy is too valuable to be spent on noise. That version of you already exists. It is waiting beneath the layers of distraction, beneath the habits of reaction, beneath the constant need for approval. Silence is the key that unlocks it. Focus is the fuel that sustains it. Together, they form the foundation of a life lived on your terms. And here's the truth that few will tell you. Silence makes you unpredictable. It makes you powerful because no one knows your next move. While others waste their strength announcing every step, you conserve yours. You execute, you grow, you transform. And by the time they realize what you've been doing, it's already too late. Your silence has become your advantage. Your focus has made you unstoppable. And the life you once dreamed of has begun to take shape, not because you talked about it, but because you built it in the shadows where no one could touch it. The power of silence is that it forces the world to meet you on your terms. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop handing out free access to your energy. You stop allowing others to control the pace of your life. Instead, you create an environment where your growth happens in private, where your progress is protected, and where your vision matures without interference. That quiet space is where self-mastery is born. It is where you teach yourself that you don't need the approval of anyone to become extraordinary. People will try to pull you back into the noise. They will provoke you, test you, and tempt you to break your silence because your restraint reminds them of their own lack of control. But remember this, every reaction is an investment of energy, and energy is the most valuable resource you have. Once it is wasted, it cannot be recovered. That is why your silence is priceless. It is not just the absence of words, it is the preservation of your strength. By refusing to react, you hold on to the energy that most people throw away. And with that energy, you build momentum that others cannot match. Focus sharpens when you are not distracted by unnecessary battles. You begin to notice opportunities you once overlooked. You start seeing patterns in your own behavior that you can refine. You gain awareness of your strengths and you identify the weaknesses that need to be transformed. Silence gives you the mental space to reflect, to learn, and to grow. And this reflection is not passive, it fuels action. Every silent hour invested in yourself becomes a building block for the life you want to create. There is a deep psychological shift that happens when you choose silence over noise. You stop living in reaction mode and start living in creation mode. You are no longer defined by what others throw at you. You are defined by what you build in the absence of their noise. And this is where true confidence grows. Not the shallow confidence of words, but the unshakable confidence of action. The kind of confidence that cannot be argued against because it is proven by results. Think of how liberating it feels when you realize you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to justify your decisions. You don't have to argue with doubters or explain your dreams to those who will never understand them. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. That freedom is priceless. It is the foundation of peace. And peace, when combined with focus, is the soil where greatness grows. Your silence creates an aura. It commands attention without asking for it. It demands respect without a word. It makes people wonder what you know, what you're building, what you're becoming. That mystery is power, and that power grows with every moment you choose to hold back from the noise and pour into yourself instead. Eventually, the silence that others mock becomes the silence they respect. The quiet path that once felt lonely becomes the path that sets you apart. And the person who once felt invisible becomes unstoppable, not because of what they said, but because of what they built in the stillness. Silence is not only the absence of sound, it is the presence of strength. When you hold your tongue, when you refuse to waste words, you are teaching yourself mastery over impulse. That mastery is rare in a world addicted to noise. Most people cannot handle the discomfort of quiet, so they fill it with chatter, arguments, and explanations. But you are learning something different. You are learning that silence is a training ground for discipline. Every time you choose not to react, you are proving to yourself that you are stronger than your emotions, stronger than your triggers, stronger than the distractions that once controlled you. Discipline is freedom. It may feel rigid in the moment, but it creates a life you've been searching for. When you discipline your words, you free yourself from regret. When you discipline your focus, you free yourself from wasted time. When you discipline your energy, you free yourself from being pulled in every direction. And this freedom is not loud or flashy. It is quiet, steady, and deeply empowering. It gives you the ability to move through life with intention, to act with purpose, and to keep walking even when others try to drag you into battles that no longer deserve you. The mind grows sharper in silence. Neuroscience shows that the brain strengthens pathways when it has moments of stillness, moments without distraction. That clarity allows you to think at a higher level, to see opportunities where others see obstacles, to strategize instead of react. Your silence is not passive, it is active preparation. You are preparing your mind, your body, and your spirit for the opportunities that are coming. You are equipping yourself with the focus required to step into the life you desire. Every person who ever rose to greatness had seasons of silence. They withdrew, they focused, they worked relentlessly behind the scenes, and then they emerged with results that no one could ignore. The same path is available to you. You do not need to announce your progress. You do not need to explain your vision. You only need to stay consistent in the quiet, allowing your results to become your voice. Because results speak a language that everyone understands, and they speak it far louder than words ever could. Imagine waking up every day with that level of clarity, knowing exactly where your energy is going, no longer drained by meaningless noise. Imagine the peace of no longer being caught in endless cycles of defense and explanation. Imagine the strength of moving silently toward your goals while the world underestimates you, only to be forced to recognize your growth when your results can no longer be denied. That is the reward waiting for you on the other side of silence. What you are building is not temporary. It is not dependent on who notices or who applauds. It is anchored in discipline, rooted in focus, and strengthened by silence. That is why it lasts. That is why it matters. You are not just becoming successful, you are becoming unshakable. And when you reach that place, when your silence has shaped you into someone unstoppable, you will understand that every moment of restraint, every battle you walked away from, every ounce of energy you protected was worth it. Because in protecting yourself, you built yourself. And what you have built cannot be broken. When you learn to hold your silence, you learn to hold your power. Words are easy to throw away, but energy is not. Every careless word costs you focus. Every unnecessary explanation costs you strength. Silence is the act of reclaiming what is yours. It is a decision to no longer give your power to places that drain you. And when you stop giving away your strength, you realize just how much of it you actually have. That realization changes everything. It shifts the way you walk, the way you think, the way you face life. You are no longer desperate to be understood. You are determined to grow. The deeper you grow into silence, the more you discover about yourself. Without noise clouding your mind, you see who you are with precision. You notice the patterns that kept you small, the habits that slowed you down, the fears that disguise themselves as reasons. Silence makes them visible. And once you see them, you can change them. That is the gift hidden in the quiet. It exposes what the noise kept buried. It allows you to break cycles that once felt unbreakable. This is how transformation begins, not by shouting louder, but by becoming still enough to finally listen to yourself. The strength that comes from this stillness is not fragile. It does not depend on approval. It does not crumble under criticism, and it does not need constant validation to survive. It is self-generated, self-sustaining, unshakable. Psychology calls this intrinsic motivation, the fire that burns from within, unaffected by the outside world. When you master silence, you feed that fire. You become motivated by growth itself, not by recognition, not by applause, not by the fleeting attention of others. That kind of motivation cannot be stopped. It carries you through setbacks, through doubts, through the moments when quitting feels easier. Silence trains you to endure because you are no longer fueled by noise. You are fueled by vision. Every step you take in silence is a step into alignment with your highest self. You are no longer distracted by the surface level storms around you. You are anchored. You are focused. You are clear. In that clarity, you gain an edge over the world. While others waste their strength proving themselves, you are strengthening yourself. While others seek to be heard, you are preparing to be seen. And when your moment arrives, you will not need to announce it because your growth will be undeniable. There's a certain respect that silence commands, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. People sense when you are not swayed by noise, when you are no longer available for meaningless conflict, when your energy is too valuable to be wasted. They may not say it, but they feel it. They adjust around it. They begin to treat you differently because your silence carries authority. And that authority only grows the longer you stay committed to yourself. This is why focusing on yourself and staying silent is more than just advice. It is a way of life. It is the blueprint for becoming powerful in a world that wants to keep you distracted. It is how you rise above the noise, how you protect your peace, how you step into the version of yourself that cannot be shaken. And once you step into that version, there's no turning back because you'll finally know what it feels. Feels like to own your power fully and completely. True power is not found in how much you can say, but in how much you can withhold. It is in the restraint, in the patience, in the refusal to waste your energy where it does not matter. Every time you hold back from speaking out of impulse, you reinforce your control. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, you strengthen your foundation. And the stronger that foundation becomes, the more unshakable you grow. Silence is not weakness. It is the mark of someone who has risen above the need to be understood because they have finally understood themselves. When you choose silence, you teach yourself presence. You stop scattering your attention across meaningless distractions and bring it back home to yourself. That presence is powerful because it anchors you in the moment, frees you from being dragged into the past by regrets or pushed into the future by fears. In silence, you are here, fully aware, fully alive. That state of awareness is where transformation happens. It is where you begin to master your mind instead of being mastered by it. There is a strength that comes from no longer needing to react. The mind that is quick to defend, quick to argue, quick to justify is a restless mind. But the mind that can remain calm in the face of noise is the mind that holds true authority. This calmness is not passive. It is active dominance over yourself. It is the decision to let your energy flow into what builds you, not into what drains you. Psychology calls it emotional regulation, but in simple terms, it is power over your own life. And when you master that power, you stop being controlled by the chaos around you. You become the one in control. Silence allows you to cultivate patience, and patience is the seed of greatness. Every dream requires time, every transformation requires consistency, and every achievement requires persistence. Without patience, focus dies. But in silence, you train your patience. You learn to trust the process, to keep moving even when recognition is not immediate, to keep building even when no one is watching. That quiet persistence separates those who wish from those who achieve. It builds character, and character builds results. Your silence also rewires your relationship with yourself. Instead of looking outward for approval, You begin looking inward for alignment. You no longer chase validation because you realize that no one's opinion has the power to define you. The only voice that matters is your own. And in silence, that voice grows stronger. It becomes clearer, louder, undeniable. You begin to trust yourself more, to believe in yourself more, to rely on yourself more. That self-trust is freedom. It releases you from the prison of needing to be liked, accepted, or understood by everyone else. The world will always test you with noise, but your silence is your shield. It protects your focus, it preserves your energy, and it amplifies your strength. And as you continue to walk in that silence, focusing fully on yourself, you become someone who no longer bends to the chaos of life. You rise above it. You embody peace in a world of noise. You embody discipline in a world of distraction. And that embodiment is what transforms you into the kind of person who not only survives, but thrives unshaken and unstoppable. The strength of your silence lies in how it reshapes your identity. You begin to see yourself, not as someone who must fight for recognition, but as someone who is already whole, already complete, already enough. That shift is powerful because it pulls you out of dependence on others. You stop measuring your worth by their reactions. You stop attaching your confidence to their opinions. You stop letting your peace be stolen by their chaos. In silence, you learn to stand fully on your own. And when you can stand alone, nothing can knock you down. This is the foundation of true confidence. It is not about walking into a room and demanding attention. It is about walking in with such quiet assurance that people feel your presence without you needing to say a word. That confidence comes from doing the work in silence, from showing up for yourself consistently, from honoring your growth when no one else is watching. It is not loud. It is not desperate. It is steady, grounded, and undeniable. When you choose to focus on yourself, you realize that the battles outside are nothing compared to the battles inside. Doubt, fear, impatience, these are the real enemies. And silence is where you confront them. Silence brings them into the light, and in that light, they begin to lose their power. Every time you stay disciplined in the quiet, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. Every time you keep moving without announcing it, you show yourself that you are greater than your fear. Transformation does not happen in noise. It happens in the stillness where you face yourself and choose growth again and again. There is a psychological truth that what you repeatedly focus on becomes your reality. If your energy is scattered on conflict and noise, your reality becomes chaos. But if your energy is centered on discipline, progress, and self-mastery, your reality becomes peace and success. Silence is how you redirect that focus. It is how you take back control of your reality, shaping it intentionally instead of letting others shape it for you. The more you practice silence, the more your reality shifts into alignment with the life you are building. The reward of this discipline is bigger than peace. It is transformation. You become someone who no longer needs to react, who no longer needs to defend, who no longer needs to prove. You become someone who moves with quiet strength, who commands respect without chasing it, who builds results that no voice can deny. And the beauty of this transformation is that it cannot be reversed. Once you learn the power of silence, you cannot go back to wasting energy on noise. Once you experience the strength of focusing on yourself, you cannot go back to scattering your attention. Once you know what it feels like to be unshakable, you cannot settle for being fragile. This is what it means to take your power back, not by shouting, not by convincing, not by explaining, but by choosing silence, by choosing focus, by choosing yourself. That choice changes everything. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you carry yourself, and the way the world responds to you. And from that place of strength, you rise. Calm, focused, unstoppable. The moment you stop scattering your energy outward, you discover the depth of strength you have within. It feels like reclaiming pieces of yourself that you had unknowingly given away. Every argument, every explanation, every attempt to be understood had been costing you power. And now, as you hold that power close, you realize that it belongs only to you. That realization is not just clarity, it is liberation. It is the freedom to build without distraction, to grow without interruption, to evolve without permission. There is something deeply magnetic about a person who does not need to speak to prove themselves. That kind of presence is rare, and it only comes from silence that has been chosen with intention. You carry yourself differently when you no longer need to justify your path. You walk with certainty, not because life is easy, but because you know where your energy belongs. People sense it. They notice when your focus is untouchable. when your peace is guarded, when your discipline is unbreakable, and though they may not say it aloud, they respect it. Respect is not demanded. It is commanded through the strength you build in the quiet. Psychology teaches us that energy is contagious. The energy you bring into a room shifts the energy of everyone in it. When you arrive with quiet confidence, you shift the atmosphere. You make others slow down, pay attention, and wonder what makes you so grounded. This is the hidden power of focusing on yourself and staying silent. You create an aura that words could never create. An aura born from self-mastery, from discipline, from a deep understanding of your worth. But silence does more than protect you from distractions. It multiplies your results. Every moment that would have been wasted on defending yourself is now invested in building yourself. Every ounce of energy that would have been drained by noise is now fueling your growth. Progress accelerates in silence because nothing is being stolen from you. Your time belongs to your goals. Your mind belongs to your vision. Your energy belongs to your future. And in that alignment, growth is no longer optional. It is inevitable. This path requires courage. It takes courage to walk away from noise, courage to let go of validation, courage to sit with yourself in silence and face what needs to be transformed. But courage grows stronger every time you choose it. Each day you stay disciplined. Each time you choose focus. Each moment you refuse to waste words. Your courage expands, and eventually it becomes your natural state. You no longer fear silence. You thrive in it. You no longer crave attention. You outgrow it. You no longer bend under pressure. You rise above it. This is the essence of inner transformation, to no longer be ruled by the noise of the world, but to be guided by the clarity of your own vision. When you reach this place, you no longer chase. You attract. You no longer explain. You embody. You no longer beg for space. You create it. And in that creation, you build a life that is not only stronger than the distractions around you, but also more aligned with the person you were always meant to become. The greatest proof of growth is not how loudly you can announce it, but how consistently you can live it. Silence turns your progress into something unshakable because it is no longer tied to the opinions of others. It is yours. You own it, you build it, and you protect it. That quiet progress is powerful because it cannot be dismantled by doubt, criticism, or rejection. It is rooted in discipline, not in applause. And when your discipline becomes your identity, no outside force can strip it away. You begin to realize that your silence is not just about withholding words. It is about controlling where your life is headed. Every word, every action, every decision is energy. And when you direct that energy towards your vision, life begins to shift in ways that noise could never achieve. You find yourself more focused, more productive, more intentional. The distractions that once consumed you no longer have power over you because you've chosen to rise above them. That choice alone separates you from the masses. There is a psychological edge in being underestimated. When you stay silent, people assume you are idle, but you are building. They assume you are passive, but you are planning. They assume you are invisible, but you are preparing to shine. This underestimation is your advantage because it removes the pressure of constant eyes on you. It gives you the freedom to grow in peace, to experiment, to fail privately, to rise stronger without the weight of expectation. Then, when your results surface, they arrive with undeniable force. Silence gives you the luxury of preparation, and preparation always outlasts noise. Focus becomes sharper when you are no longer spread thin across endless conflicts and conversations. It feels like sharpening a blade. Each moment of discipline refines you. Each hour of silence strengthens you. And with that sharpened focus, your actions carry more weight. You accomplish more in a single hour of true concentration than most do in a full day of distraction. That is the compounding effect of silence. It multiplies the value of your effort because nothing is wasted. Every move is intentional, every step is aligned, every decision is purposeful. The deeper you commit to this path, the more you start to feel unshakable calm. Noise loses its power to pull you off balance. Chaos no longer dictates your emotions. Criticism no longer breaks your stride. You learn to respond to life from strength instead of reacting from weakness. That calmness is not indifference, it is mastery. It shows that you are no longer a prisoner of what happens around you, but a commander of how you respond within you. And that mastery becomes visible to others. It is felt in your presence, in your choices, in the way you carry yourself. This is where transformation deepens. You stop asking for permission to grow. You stop waiting for understanding. You stop living in the shadows of noise. Instead, you walk fully into your own path, guided by silence, driven by focus, anchored by discipline. And the more you walk in that strength, the more life bends to meet you there. Opportunities align, energy aligns, your vision aligns. And you realize that silence was never about hiding. It was about unlocking a version of yourself that no longer needs the world's approval to rise. True strength is not found in how loudly you can speak, but in how deeply you can remain centered when the world tries to shake you. Silence becomes the armor that shields your vision, and focus becomes the weapon that carves your path. Together, they make you untouchable. While others scatter their energy outward, exhausting themselves in proving, explaining, and competing, you conserve yours, storing it, refining it, and directing it with precision. That difference is what creates the invisible gap between those who chase and those who rise. Every day you remain silent, you are teaching yourself discipline. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, you are building resilience. And every moment you choose focus over distraction, you are creating a version of yourself that cannot be shaken by temporary noise. That self-control compounds. It doesn't just affect how you respond today, it builds the foundation of the person you will become tomorrow. Psychologists call this delayed gratification, the ability to resist short-term validation for the sake of long-term success. It is the cornerstone of mastery, and silence is its most powerful training ground. Think about the energy you reclaim when you stop feeding the noise. That energy becomes fuel. It transforms into sharper thoughts, stronger actions, deeper patience. Suddenly your progress accelerates, not because you are doing more, but because you are wasting less. Every ounce of focus is now aimed at your growth, your goals, your vision. And when your life is fueled by concentrated energy, momentum builds faster than you thought possible. That momentum feels unstoppable because it comes from within, not from the fragile praise of others. There is also wisdom in silence. When you stop rushing to respond, you begin to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. You hear the whispers of your intuition, the quiet pull of your true desires, the unspoken clarity of what you actually want. And in that clarity, you stop living for appearances and start living for alignment. You realize that not every battle deserves your energy, not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every voice deserves to echo inside your mind. Silence teaches you to separate the essential from the meaningless, the lasting from the fleeting. The beauty of this path is that it transforms how you carry yourself. You no longer need to announce your vision because you live it. You no longer need to justify your choices because you embody them. You no longer need to defend your worth because it is written in your presence. That kind of confidence cannot be faked. It comes only from consistent discipline, from the quiet hours when nobody is watching, from the relentless decision to rise above the noise. It is earned, and once earned, it cannot be taken away. This is where silence reveals its true gift. It doesn't just protect you, it amplifies you. It makes your growth undeniable, your progress unshakable, your strength unmistakable. And when that strength finally becomes visible to the world, it doesn't need explanation. It speaks louder than words ever could. That is the reward for focusing on yourself and staying silent, a life that grows louder in results than it ever did in noise. When you master the art of silence, you master the art of presence. Presence is the energy that speaks before your words ever do. It is the quiet power that fills a room, the calm confidence that cannot be faked, the steady strength that others feel without understanding why. This kind of presence is not born from noise or attention. It is born from the discipline of self-control, the focus of inner growth, and the courage to remain true to your vision when everything around you tries to pull you away. The more you hold to your silence, the more you begin to see the truth about the world around you. You notice how much time people waste defending themselves, how much energy is lost in trying to be right, how much peace is sacrificed for the sake of being heard. But you are no longer pulled into that trap. You realize that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the wisdom of someone who understands that growth speaks louder than arguments, that results are more powerful than explanations, and that peace is more valuable than winning battles that do not matter. This discipline reshapes your mind. It strengthens your ability to delay gratification, to hold back the urge to react, to stay focused on what will truly move you forward. Neuroscience shows us that the brain is wired to seek immediate rewards, but the most successful people are the ones who train themselves to wait, to endure discomfort, and to invest their energy in what compounds over time. Silence becomes your training ground for that mastery. Each moment you hold back, you are rewiring your brain to prioritize long-term growth over short-term relief. That is the psychology of power. And in that rewiring, you find freedom. You are no longer enslaved by the need for validation. You are no longer controlled by the opinions of others. You are no longer bound to the noise of the world. Instead, you stand free, free to focus, free to grow, free to choose the life you want without apology. That freedom is rare, and it is only given to those who are willing to pay the price of discipline. But once you taste it, you will never trade it back for the fleeting comfort of noise. The reward of this silence is not just inner peace, but outer transformation. The more you focus on yourself, the more the results begin to show. The strength in your body, the clarity in your mind, the progress in your goals. These become visible markers of your discipline. People start to notice, but you don't need their words to validate you. You already know the work you've put in. You already feel the growth within. You already live the transformation daily. Silence protects you while you build, but it also magnifies you when your results begin to speak for themselves. This is why silence is not empty. It is full of power. It is full of focus, of strength, of vision. It is the soil where greatness is planted, the foundation on which transformation is built. And the more you commit to it, the more unstoppable you become. Because in a world addicted to noise, the one who can remain silent becomes unforgettable. The more you embrace silence, the more you realize it is not just about what you avoid, it is about what you create. In the quiet, your mind sharpens. Ideas that were once drowned out by the noise of constant distraction begin to surface. Dreams you buried under the weight of other people's opinions rise again. You begin to see with clarity where you are, where you've been, and where you are destined to go. That clarity is priceless, because without it, life becomes nothing more than reaction. With it, life becomes deliberate, purposeful, and unstoppable. Focusing on yourself in silence teaches you to stop measuring your progress against others. Comparison fades when you are too busy building. You no longer feel the pull to prove you are ahead or the fear that you are behind, because your only competition is the person you were yesterday. This shift is powerful. Psychologists call it intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within, not from the outside world. When you live from that place, nothing can derail you. Wins feel deeper, failures teach more, and every step forward strengthens the core of who you are becoming. Silence is also the birthplace of resilience. When you are no longer fueled by applause, you cannot be broken by rejection. When your fire is internal, no external storm can extinguish it. You find a strength that is calm, steady, and unshakable. It is not loud, but it is enduring. It is the strength of someone who has faced themselves, embraced the quiet, and chosen to rise regardless of who notices. That kind of resilience makes you unstoppable because it cannot be taken away by circumstances or opinions. It is built within, and it grows with every challenge you overcome. The beauty of walking this path is that the world eventually begins to reflect your inner growth. Opportunities come not because you shouted, but because you prepared. Respect follows not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Influence grows not because you sought attention, but because your discipline created undeniable results. Silence flips the script. What once seemed like a sacrifice becomes the very reason you succeed. The energy you invested in yourself begins to return multiplied, and you realize that silence has been your greatest ally all along. This transformation is not about becoming distant. It is about becoming intentional. It is not about cutting off the world. It is about no longer allowing the world to control you. It is about taking ownership of your time, your energy, your focus, and your life. And when you claim that ownership, you step into a level of power that most people will never experience, because most people remain trapped in noise. Most people remain slaves to validation. Most people remain distracted, exhausted, and unfulfilled, but not you. You are learning to rise above. Silence teaches you that true focus is not just about working harder, but about working smarter, with intention, with alignment, with clarity. It is about channeling your energy into the vision that matters most, refusing to waste it on what holds no weight. And when you master that, you discover a truth that changes everything. The world cannot ignore someone who is disciplined enough to stay silent. focused enough to keep building, and relentless enough to never stop.